The school photographer is trying to take a picture of a class of pupils. There's only one boy, ready and motionless. This is Nicholas, who's staring at that camera. Nicholas tells us that one day the teacher assigned the class to answer a simple question. What do you want to be when you grow up? The whole class is busy writing, except Nicholas. Now this task is very difficult for him because he doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. His friends, on the other hand, have clear ideas. Alceste, his best friend, loves food. He wants to be a minister because they always have good banquets. Jeffrey wants to work with his father when he grows up. He and his family live in a big house, have a huge garden and a liver-shaped pool. His father's very rich and buys him anything. Jeffrey likes to dress up and has numerous costumes. His father's always busy with work, so the butler takes care of him.
Il a même une piscine en forme de rognon.
Then there's Clotaire, who has a beautiful blue bike, and his dream is to become a cycling champion. Clotaire's often dreaming while the teacher's lecturing. He's not good at school, and is always sent to the corner. Every time he brings his report card, his parents punish him by depriving him of chocolates and TV. Many fear the report card delivery. But not Eudes. He's a grumpy and aggressive boy. He says he's not afraid of his father and looks him straight in the eye.
Et après, il signe le carnet et c'est tout.
But when he enters the house, his father scolds and slaps him. Eudes wants to become a bandit and argues with Rufus because he instead wants to become a policeman like his father. In the schoolyard, Rufus teases Owl, the janitor, without realizing that he's behind him. Owl grabs him by the ears and takes him into the classroom. His favorite punishment is to make the children write a sentence over and over again. The only child who has never been punished is Agnon, the geek of the class. The kids dislike him a lot,
Nous, on l'aime pas beaucoup. Mais on peut pas le taper parce qu'il a des lunettes.
calling him a snitch beetle, but they can't beat him because he wears glasses. Nicholas's father told his son that he could have become many things if he hadn't married his mother. He could have become a professional soccer player, a swimming champion, and even a cycling champion. Nicholas runs to his mom and scares her. He loves his mother because she's always treating him well. The teacher asked the class about the story of Tom Thumb. No one can answer. Only Agnon has his hand raised.
Il était le dernier d'une famille de bûcherons.
Owl interrupts the lesson by bringing one of Nicholas's classmates, Joachim, into the classroom. The class soon discovers that Joachim has had a baby brother, and he's not happy with the newcomer. He preferred to receive a bicycle. The little brother's always shouting and has his parents' attention all the time, while Joachim gets yelled at for anything he does. Joachim says he's seen strange behavior in his father. He's always nice to his mother, and even started throwing out the trash all the time, which wasn't normal.
C'est foutu, je te dis.
At home, Nicholas, still thinking about his talk with Joachim, is asking his mother how babies are made. Fortunately, right away the father comes in, having just returned from work, with a gift for his son, a spinning top. In reality, the father's boss, Mr. Mooshboom, gave him the gift. The parents often quarrel about the father's job. He works hard to get that raise, but the mother thinks that he's just exploiting him.
Ne te marie jamais.
D'accord.
Nicholas's dad advises his son to write a letter, thanking Mr. Mooshboom for the gift. The father tries to dictate the sentence to write, but loses patience and ends up writing the whole thing himself. After countless attempts, he can't take it anymore and throws that paper on the floor. He's desperate, thinking that he'll never receive this raise. His wife, however, suggests that he invite the boss over for dinner. The next morning, Nicholas sees through the window that his father is taking out the garbage. Nicholas notices that his father is behaving as Joachim's father did before his little brother's arrival. Nicholas, worried now, runs to school, telling his classmates that he'll also have a baby brother. On the other hand, Joachim doesn't show up at school, and his classmates think his parents have gotten rid of him. The boys don't have class today. They need to be examined by the school doctor. At home, Nicholas's father's happy because the boss has accepted the dinner invitation. The parents discuss how to arrange the evening with Mr. and Mrs. Mooshboom. Arriving home, Nicholas only hears part of the conversation and now thinks his parents want to get rid of him. That night at dinner, Nicholas is sad and doesn't want to eat. His father proposes to take a walk into the woods next weekend. Now, Nicholas is certain his parents want to abandon him in the woods. At school, Nicholas tells his classmates everything. They propose that he buy his mother a present to change her mind. So after school, Alceste, Rufus, and Nicholas go to a florist.
Bonjour, je voudrais acheter des fleurs pour ma mère, s'il vous plaît.
Nicholas wants to buy all the roses, but they cost a lot of money. The boy's asking his friends if they can lend him some francs. No one wants to lend him the money, and the three boys start to fight. Rufus throws Al's sandwich to the ground, so he starts beating him with roses. The saleswoman tries to stop this chaos but falls back against the cactus display. Nicholas takes a rose and leaves her a coin. The mother's happy to receive the rose. Nick's plans seem to have worked. The boy continues to do all the things his mom loves, such as wearing this blue thing he hates so much and accompanying her to a friend's house for tea. There he meets a beautiful young girl, Marie-Edwige, who takes him to her room and teaches him how to play cards. The girl's rules were very complicated. She could look at all of Nick's cards and exchange them with hers, but he couldn't do the same thing. Nick had to undergo penalties whenever he lost, such as being ridden or rigged by Marie. When Marie's friends arrive, Nick plays with all of them and has a great time until he's seen by his classmates.
Peut-être devoir changer d'école.
He and his mother have to go, but before they leave, he kisses all the girls. And when he sees Marie again, he can't exchange a single word with her. His mother gives him a goodnight kiss, but she seems to haven't changed her mind and reminds him that they'll go for a walk in the woods. The next day comes, arriving in the woods. They all get out of the car except Nicholas. The little boy doesn't want to get out and locks all the doors. The parents scold him, but can't convince him to get out. They arrive home by pushing the car. After calling the doctor and seeing that their son is healthy, they send him to his room. Nicholas hears his parents arguing. He believes that his mom doesn't want to leave him yet, but that his father would be able to convince her. The comrades decide to create a secret gang to help their friend. The group's name would be the Invincibles, and the password would be Indomitable Courage, and only those who know it would be allowed in. The teacher calls her pupils. Clotaire runs to her and shows her a piece of paper that's supposed to justify the fact that he forgot his assignment. The teacher immediately realizes the signature is forged and sends him to the corner. In class, the children have their drawing lesson and portray an apple. Suddenly, the principal enters. He announces the arrival of the Minister of Education. The principal's asking the teacher to arrange a show with the class to welcome him pleasantly.
J'ai le grand plaisir de vous annoncer que le ministre...
The teacher doesn't seem very happy about it. In the past, she tried to have the children do performances, parades, and choirs, but it hadn't gone very well. Teacher explains to the principal that they can't do any of that because they would fall behind with the program. He says they can also say a poem and asks Rufus to recite one. The kid doesn't remember it, and the class makes a fuss. The teacher shushes him and orders him to go back to drawing, but when she turns around, the apple's gone. Alceste ate it. After school, the Invincibles meet in an abandoned field to decide who will be the leader. Alceste acts as a bouncer, preventing those who don't know the password from coming in. Everyone joins except Clotaire. The boys begin a fight because they can't decide on a leader.
Bon, tout d'abord, ce qu'il nous faut, c'est un chef.
At Nicholas's house, the father imagines he has a secretary and has received a raise from Mr. Mushboom. His dream is interrupted by his wife,
Je te dis que j'ai changé d'avis.
who tells him that she wants to cancel dinner. She doesn't have nice clothes, nice jewelry, and can't even drive a car. She wants to feel on the same level as Mrs. Mushboom. The parents begin to argue in the garden, in front of their neighbor Bledude. Her husband eventually promises to buy her clothes and jewelry and teach her how to drive.
Je me demande combien ça coûterait de faire monter un mur là.
The kids decide to help Nicholas clean the whole house to make their parents happy and convince him not to abandon him. The father and mother leave Nicholas alone at home. As soon as they hear the car leave, Nicholas's companions run to him and clean the whole house. They even wash the cat in the washing machine. The mother tries to learn how to drive. However, she gets angry because her husband stresses her too much, so she gives up. They return home and find the house destroyed. Nicholas is scolded and sent to his room. He's crying because he had hoped to surprise him. Now, he thinks he can no longer convince him. He's so disappointed that he decides to run away from home that same night. He doesn't get very far though because he's frightened of the dark and immediately returns to the house. In the school bathroom, he's telling his classmates that he has thought better about it and realizes that he's not the one who has to leave.
On se débarrassera de lui.
He has to be the one to get rid of his little brother. Suddenly, Agnan appears, saying he heard everything. He threatens to tell the principal everything if they don't let him propose his idea for the play. They agree. The boys meet again at the abandoned camp. After thinking it over, Eudes reports to his comrades that getting rid of the child themselves is a very bad idea. They would be found out immediately. He suggests, however, that they hire a gangster to kidnap the little brother. They go then to the town jail to find a suitable criminal. A dashing man emerges from the facility, looking perfect for their mission, but moments later he's shot and killed. Frightened, the kids ran away. At Nicholas's house, his mother is studying Nordic poetry by heart.
Snurf.
The woman wants to be ready for dinner with the Mushbooms because she wants to surprise him. Eudes runs to his companions with a newspaper in his hand. He says he's found the gangster Nicholas needs and shows a picture of a criminal called Blind Jack. After recess is over, Owl calls the boys back using the whistle. He warns them that their teacher will be gone for a few days and that Mrs. Navarin would replace her. This substitute is a stiff and scary woman. For the first time in his life, Agnan is scolded and grounded in the corner of the classroom. After geography class, Nicholas and his group find Blind Jack's number in the phone book. The boy calls him, and the scene shifts to a workshop. A huge misunderstanding arises. Nicholas thinks he's talking to a criminal, while the mechanic thinks he's talking to a customer who needs his car repaired.
C'est tout.
The mechanic is asking for 500 francs for the removal and piece-by-piece disassembly of the body. Agnan is at home, sad, and reflecting on his bad day. The little boy comes up with a brilliant idea. Get back at the substitute by giving her expired sweets as a gift. Nicholas's parents continue to argue because his wife wants a chic dinner and even a waitress, while he's preferring something simple. The boys are looking for a way to earn 500 francs.
T'as une pièce?
Jeffrey brings his father's roulette wheel to the school to teach the boys how to gamble. His idea was to get the adults to play and take all the money. Shortly after, Owl discovers them and confiscates the roulette. The janitor then calls all the students and tells them that the substitute teacher has fallen ill.
Une mauvaise nouvelle à vous annoncer.
Agnan thinks the lady'll die because of him and faints. Owl specifies that the sub has caught a simple cold, and soon after the little boy recovers. Owl instructs Agnan to replace the teacher. He's very happy about it, but his lesson doesn't last that long. The class rebels. Meanwhile, Nicholas and his friends leave the classroom. Clotaire takes a piece of chalk and writes something on the school wall to distract Owl, while the others steal the roulette wheel. Clotaire's taken to the principal. As punishment, he's got to write a long sentence.
Je me fais du souci pour vous, mon jeune ami.
300 times. The boys go to town and put the roulette on boxes to attract adults to bet. An old lady bets 10 francs on the number 4, but unexpectedly wins, and the kids run away. An hour passes at school, and Clotaire still has a lot of sentences to copy. Owl loses patience because he wants to go home, so he takes his pen from his hand and starts writing instead. Night comes, and tension reigns in Nicholas's house. His wife is anxious because the maid isn't coming. The doorbell rings, and Nick's mom thinks the maid has finally arrived. She opens the door and gives the lady the trash to throw away. Soon after, Mr. Mushboom enters the house and is asking where his wife has gone because she was in front of the house. Nick's mom finds Mrs. Mushboom in the kitchen with trash in her hand and a sharp look on her face. The mother realizes she's made a very huge mistake and starts drinking to ignore the sense of shame.
Nicolas va dire bonsoir.
In the living room, Mr. Mushboom meets Nicholas and asks him if he likes the spinning top he gave him. Nick says it was a nice gift, but that next time he would also like 500 francs. The dad's boss takes it as a laugh and is asking the little boy what he would do with all that money. Nicholas secretly tells him that he wants to have his little brother kidnapped by a gangster so that he could stay with his parents. The mother puts dumplings on her son's plate while she prepares lobster with mayonnaise for Mr. and Mrs. Mushboom. Joining the other adults, Nick's mom starts talking about Baroque and Scandinavian poetry, trying to make a good impression.
Vraiment très très intéressant.
But all she does is confuse definitions and embarrass herself. Nick's father suggests to go to the dinner table. The wife warns the Mushbooms that it'll be an informal and humble dinner. Mr. Mushboom says it's for the best. To avoid another awkward moment, his wife puts that lobster on her son's plate and brings the dumplings to the adults. Among the dumplings, there was one half eaten by Nicholas. The gentleman notices it. Nicholas's mom eats it, takes another sip of wine, and then passes out. At school, the old teacher returns. She announces to the class that the minister is coming and threatens them with punishment if they laugh. When the minister comes inside the class, the children don't make a sound or laugh at her jokes, seeing the seriousness of these students. The minister decides to question Clotaire. Clotaire gives it a lot of thought. But but after a few minutes, he answers correctly. The whole class cheers and applauds. The minister is confused because he thinks it was a simple question. At work, Mr. Mooshboom seems to ignore Nicholas's father. In the meantime, Rufus goes to Nick's house and shows him a comic book. The group of boys create a magic potion that gives super strength to those who drink it, or so they say. At first, no one believes it. Rufus then has a child drink this potion and tells him to push that van in front of him. The child listens to him and seems to be able to bring the van down. This happened thanks to the cleverness of the children who had hung weights behind the car. After that incredible demonstration, hundreds of children buy this potion. The boys' activity is interrupted when the father of a child who drank the potion and got ill comes to him. The boys luckily have reached 500 francs, so they run away. Nicholas calls the gangster.
Hello.
And the gangster's asking him where the car is. Nick goes to the side and tells the boys that they need a car now. Jeffrey then gets taken in a beautiful Rolls Royce by the butler to eat ice cream. When the butler gets out, Nick and Alceste run to Jeffrey. They finally steal the car. Neither of them know how to drive. Alceste accidentally takes off the handbrake, and the car slides downhill at high speed. Simultaneously, Nick's mom is taking her driving test. When she's about to park, Jeffrey's car cuts her off, risking an accident. The instructor, furious, orders Nick's mom to chase the car. Jeffrey's Rolls Royce is still moving forward and risks running over Mr. Mooshboom. Nick's father, however, saves his life. From that moment, he earned all the respect and attention of his boss. And now, the instructor notices that a child is driving. Nick's mom becomes distracted from driving and is in danger of crashing into a truck. Fortunately, at the last second, she manages to make a perfect parking spot to save herself and passes the test. The boys manage to stop the Rolls Royce right in front of a phone booth, where the others are waiting for him. Nick's about to call the gangster, but at the same time, Joachim appears with his little brother. He hadn't disappeared, he just caught the chickenpox. Now Joachim loves his little brother. He says it was great to be a big brother because he can give him orders,
Je comprends que c'est super d'être un grand frère.
teach him new things, and always be taken as an example by his parents. Nicholas decides not to call the gangster anymore. After the test, his mother tears up the license and says she never wants to drive again in her life. Nicholas also comes home, thinking he'll have a little brother. His parents don't understand what he's talking about, and he's really sad. The dinner's a little quieter than usual. The father decides to break the ice and starts grimacing. The whole family bursts out laughing. Afterwards, the parents continue to play in their room. One day, when Nicholas returned from school, his parents did announce the arrival of a baby. Nick is now looking forward to playing with his little brother and teaching him many things. One morning, Nick and his father urgently take his mom to the hospital. The mother gives birth to a baby girl. Nicholas is disappointed, and all his dreams vanish. He can't teach his sister anything because she doesn't listen to him. When asked if he likes his sister, Nicholas replies that he would have preferred a Labrador instead of a roll of flab. The whole family bursts into merry laughter. Just then, Nicholas remembers the question asked at the beginning of the film by the teacher and realizes that he wants to make people laugh when he grows up. The boys finally get into position. The film closes with the photographer finally taking the class picture.